Hello, my name is Phoenix Storm Jr. and this is the first programming log of the game. Now, of the game Megaman ZX The Rise. Now, I did make a version of this game before with Game Maker right here. But the thing is, it wasn't really working out too well because Game Maker, everything was really spread out and wonky. Like this. I checked the file for it, the folder, and like the very first folder already has all these folders right here and spread out crazy. And then when you click on one of the objects where the code is, it gets even crazier. Like these are for each individual sprite of the character because they don't really have an easy way to animate. They just have speed and stuff like that. And now it gets even more crazy. So, and then this year, I found this other app called Processing 3 that works a lot better. I already made one application in it. Might be to just show how it works in another video. But currently, Processing 3 is the most powerful one I've ever seen yet. It is so simple and easy to use. Now, without further ado, let's start the programming. All right. The very first few lines, if you're new to programming, the very first two all show how to program. I'm not very good. I'm not very good at intros, but I'm going to show you how to program anyway. Anyway, the first two lines of code you should type are void, setup, and parentheses and squiggly brackets. I don't know what they're called. And I don't care what they're called. And then the next line of code you should type is void draw and the squiggly brackets again. Alright. Now the void setup, what this does is it runs only one time and it never runs again. Like for example, let's just say Mario or Megaman, he would start at the beginning of the level. So you would type in Megaman start at the level, or the code right here that would make him start at the beginning of the level. But you wouldn't want him to stay there. You want to move after you do that. And over here, we would type in if right, keep rest, and move right, and stuff like that. Over in the draw area, that's where we would type that. And the beginning is where we set up stuff, where we set the... That's why it's called setup, where we set up the positions and the starting and blah, blah, blah. And over here, draw is where we type in the stuff that will happen repeatedly over and over and over and over. Now, you can't really start a game unless you create a save file first. So yes, we want to save it. And I will name this Megaman ZX The Rise of Team GIGAMEN. Save. Now that we saved it, now we can get into the fun stuff already. Now, it's going to be real simple from here on out. If I could find it. Now, the first thing what you want to do is you want to load a picture. Now, this guy is going to be the main character because we pretty much ran out of characters. Megaman's biometal, Zero's a biometal, Axel's a biometal, everyone's a biometal now. They're all spirits now. And so this guy is pretty much one of the only ones remaining. We could use Ash, Gray, or Vent, or Ale, but the two Mega Man ZX games had new characters, so I really don't know who else to pick. And also, I really like this guy, King, for Mega Man and Bass. I'll name this file King1. It's important you remember what the name is because we're going to be calling it later. Alright, here we're going... Now, first we're going to go to setup because, you know, you want to set up. And the best thing to type in setup first is full screen. This thing right here, it's really easy to guess what it does. It makes it stop load. It makes it full screen. At first it slowed it down, but now it's full screen. Anyway, so in the draw, now we are going to change this later. We're going to add variables to this, but right now we're going to type in image. And we're going to load the image, King 1. This picture right here that I just loaded. Okay, we're going to load that image. Now, in order to load the image, it's really simple. Load image king1.png. You can this is the X position and this is the Y position, because programming, it's like a graph, except instead of X being at the far left and Y being at the far bottom, X is still at the far left, but Y is 0 is actually at the top. You'll see what I mean when I load the game. Or maybe you won't see what I mean when I load the game. Yeah, you won't see when I load the game because I made mistakes somewhere. Huh? King1.png. Oh, yeah, I just realized, what I like about the processing 3.2 is they tell you all the mistakes you made, too. Now, right here, I accidentally gave it a lowercase when I should have given it a capital. Usually, I don't give things capitals, so I'm going to rename the thing that's not a capital. But you could rename this and make this a capital right here, and it would do the exact same thing. Now, it will most likely load. And there it is, it loaded. Now, another thing you should do in void draw is draw the background, because what draw does is it does over and over and over and over and over again. So what it's doing is it's redrawing king in the same place over and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, that's alright to draw him over in the same place over and over again, but if you don't have a background to cover the very first drawing, when we start moving him, that original drawing of him in the same place he'll be in the same place. It would be as if we drew a whole bunch of pictures of King in the same place, in different places over and over and over and over, and when you move, then he does move, but the previous him is still there. So we can type in background, and then type in 0. This will cause the background to become a dark color, and then there's King right there. But I prefer a light color because it's easier to see what's going on. And there we go. Now, you see this 0, 0 right here? Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to remember every single number. I know it's just 0, 0, that's not too difficult to remember. But what if we had him be in one exact spot? Like, what if it was an enemy or something that was halfway across the screen, and the screen isn't exactly 500 pixels in the middle. It isn't 100,000 pixels long and 500 in the middle. It might be 513 or whatever. So one thing you can do is up here we're going to type in variables. Now, in math, in algebra, back in when you had middle school, variables stood for something like x plus 5 equals 10, that means x equals 5. So, that means if we were to type in x here, then it would go to 0, but we have to make the variable x. It's really simple to make the variable x. You're not going to believe how simple it is. Int x equals 0. And right there. That's it. And now we can type in x right here. Same thing for y. Int y equals 0. Now let's change because he's in the same place. But if we change these now, say 300, King will move to the 300 place. Now, Now here's where things get tricky. We've gotten the character to be loaded onto the screen, but what about moving him with actual arrow keys? I'll come back in just a second. Alright, I'm back. I just checked the processing forum online, and it said how to do right and left movement. So what we're going to want to do first is practice with the right and left movement. Now X, we want it to increase by 1 every frame. Well, we'll just move him to the right for now. Now in algebra, you remember that X positive adding makes him move right and negative makes him move left in algebra back in 8th grade. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to add 1 every single frame. Now, void draw, it already repeats 60 times per frame. So, if we add 1 to X every frame, he's going to move 60 to the right every frame. So, to add 1 to X, we type X equals X plus 1. That means X, we're changing it to what it was before and 1. That's what we're doing. What it was before, changing it to what it was before plus 1. And if you click run, you can see that he moves to the right. Not by much, but we can make him move faster by adding +2, +3. Just to make sure you can see the difference, I'll do +10. And now you can really see the difference. Okay, now, how do we get him to move right when we press an arrow key? Oh, we don't want that there because we don't want him moving by himself. We want an arrow key. So we're going to type this. This is also really simple. If an arrow key is pressed, if right arrow key pressed, then X equals X plus 1, what we did over here. So if key code equals right, I think int does not match with boolean. What this means is that you basically just need 2 equal signs. That's all that means. Okay, now X equals X plus 1 there. And now this key code basically saying which key is, if the key pressed is the right key, then X equals X plus 1. If key pressed is the right key, right, X equals X plus 1. No, nothing happens, but when I press right, he moves to the right. And there you go. But there's one slight problem with this. He doesn't do anything at the start, but if I tap right, he moves right. You can see how that he's moving right. But now if I let go of right, he still moves to the right. That's a huge problem. We're going to fix that now as well. To fix it, it's basically this key code right here, it says whatever the last key pressed was. But we want to say if key right was pressed and if it's still being pressed up here. To add, now we're going to have to add on a second statement. If key pressed now this means if the key is pressed, like what does that mean? If the key is still down. And if you move right, then he moves right. If you let go of the button, he stops moving. That's simple. And also, because it was like the last key pressed, if you automatically press a different key, like F, and then let go of right, he stops again, because the last key pressed was now F, or R, or D, or left, or space, or whatever. The last key was not right then, so this works for that too. Now we got him to move right, and to move left should be pretty obvious, the same thing. But there's one slight problem with this. I used this before, and I came across a lot of problems, like when I started doing collision. Collision with enemies, like when you touch another enemy, back in Game Maker when I was still using that. Like with walls and stuff, when you collide into walls, and the wall pushes you one way, but then the right key moves faster than where the wall goes, so it would be easy if touching walls in x equals x minus 1, but then you would have to do that for the enemies as well, and for any other collision events you might have, like when you're touching the door, entering the boss room, or whatever. So I found a really easy way to fix this. Instead of x equals x plus 1, how about at the bottom, no, we need to type in another variable. Oh, and variables will be the most important thing in programming. Like, for just one program I made, I never have under 5 variables, even if it's the smallest program. You're going to need so many variables. Int x speed equals 0. Now, this, if it's 1, then he's going to be moving by 1. And at the bottom, instead of typing x equals x plus 1, we'll type x speed equals 1. Now, here it would change the speed to 1, so you would expect him to move right. Right when I press the right key, well, he doesn't move right because x, we have not changed it yet. So we need x equals x plus x speed. X speed, whatever it is, gets added to x. So for example, up here when I said x speed equals 1, if I said x speed equals 10, then we would x equals x plus speed. So if we press right, it moves to the right by 10. And so that's that. We got him to move to the right by 10, and we're adding whatever this is to x. Well, now we just created another problem, but the problem is actually very easy to fix. If you press right, then x speed will be 10, but there's nothing to set the speed back to 0. So if I press right, he moves to the right, but if I let go of right, he still keeps going on forever and ever and ever and ever like an idiot. To fix this, we're going to go back up to the top. The top is where I write the code that usually doesn't change much, or no, the code that affects the rest of the program. The most important code at the top. So if up here we want it to say if I let go of right, or if nothing is pressed, then x speed equals 0. No, that's exactly what we're going to type. Now that exclamation point, that means not. If not, that's what this means, not. Right here, this exclamation point just means not. It's nothing special. If not, G, press x speed equals 0. And there we go. Now, that seems like more trouble than just x equals x plus 10. Like, why are we doing that? Why can't it just be... Why can't we just do x equals x plus 10? Well, as I said before, because of the collision events, and also we're going to be able to add a lot more stuff in this not key pressed. Like y speed, we're going to be adding jump speed, we're going to be adding a whole lots of stuff over in the not key press. Also, it just makes things much more simpler, trust me. You'll see in the end. Now that we got that done, we will make a left. Now to make a left key press, it's pretty much the same thing. Copy, paste. But instead of 10, because 10 goes to the right, plus it goes to the right, negative it goes to the left, we're going to add a minus. Now if we click the program and go right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, so we got him to move right and left, and I don't feel like quitting now, so I'm going to do just a little bit more. Now you see this load image right here? That seems kind of messy right there, right? Like, it's a lot to remember for, like, every single sprite that we load. So, if we're going to be loading a lot of sprites, we'd have King 1, King 2, King 3, load image for all of them. So an easier thing to say than load image is, wouldn't it be a lot easier to just type King 1? But the thing is, King 1 does not exist. Well, good news, we can make King 1 exist. It's actually quite simple to make him exist. You remember how we typed int, and that stands for integer, and we made a variable x? Well, now we're going to make a variable that doesn't stand for a number, it stands for an image. We're going to type P, capital P-I, image, King 1 equals King 1. Now this stands for an image, but it doesn't really stand for anything yet because we haven't loaded the image yet. So if we were to load this, it would just look like nothing. It would look like nothing at all. I tried clicking play and it froze my phone and my computer. Yeah, this is what would happen because there's nothing here. It doesn't mean anything yet. It's trying to load something that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It doesn't stand for 0. It doesn't stand for a blank canvas. It doesn't stand for nothing. So in order to make it stand for something, over in setup, we have to type in King 1 equals load image king1.png. Oh yeah, and if I forgot to mention, do you see these quotes that I enclosed in? That basically just means it's not part of the code, it's part of the file. That's all the quotes mean. And now if we load it, it does the same thing, except the code down here looks easier, and it's much easier to edit now. Okay, now that we finally did that, we're now going to do gravity, or Y speed. Now to do Y speed is pretty much the same thing as X speed, int Y speed equals 0. Now before we do anything about gravity, we also have to have a ground to land on. So we're going to save that and we're going to make a ground. How about we just do 100 by 100? No, 50 by 50. That's a pretty, not a pretty ground. Ground look green. Yeah, that's a pretty ground. I'm such a good artist there. Don't let, you're just jealous that I have such good, wait a minute, let's make this better. Now you're jealous of my pretty ground right there. Don't be jealous of that. That's horrible. But it's good enough for the beginning. We can just rip a ground off of another Megaman game, and then there we go. We don't really need to work on the ground yet because this is only the beginning of the game. It's not really anything. Save. Okay. Now that we're back, finally, let's do the same thing as we did before with the P image, King 1. Let's type P image, type the wrong thing, ground equals, just ground. Ground equals load image ground.png. Okay. Now, as we did the X and Y for king, we're also going to do X and Y for ground. But we can't make it the same as X because, well, when we change the X down here, it would also change the position of the ground. And we don't want the ground to change. We want the ground to remain the same always. So GX equals 300. GY equals... Now remember, the 0 is at the top left. And the higher you go, the lower Y will get on the graph. So how about we make this 800? If not right, then we'll make it something else. Image, ground, GX, GY. Missing semicolon. And there it is. What a beautiful ground right there. That's lovely. That's a lovely ground. It's so lovely. So my arm, something fell off the table, and because it could not stand in awe. It was such a gorgeous ground. It screamed and ran off, and said it looked hideous. Okay. So now we got all this stuff, but Y never changes down here. We have to type in something else. If GY is greater than, that means like above, wait a minute, is less than, is above regular Y. That means Y for the main character is above GY, is above the ground. And Y speed equals 10. That means it's going to fall. And down here we also have to have Y equals Y plus Y speed. And boom. Wait a minute. We didn't have anything that set it back to 0. So up here we're going to have... Remember, the code that affects everything else goes up here. If, as we did for the X, we set that X speed back to 0, we got to set Y speed back to 0. If Y is greater than, that means lower than the ground. I know greater is greater than, it's supposed to be up here, but instead it's down here. And yeah, it doesn't really make much sense, but eventually I'll get used to it. Or maybe not, I never got used to it. Oh well, just whenever I see it, I think about it, and oh well. If it's greater than the ground, then Y speed equals 0. And whoop, it stopped, but it stopped a little bit too late. So in order to fix that, it's quite simple. We just type in minus 100. That means it will, whatever GY is, let's just say GY, I'm going to draw some, let's just say this is where the ground was, and then minus 100, that would be somewhere up here, and it would stop. And the same over here, minus 100. And stop. As you can see, it stopped better, but not as good as I want it to. Stopped a little bit too high. So we're going to lower it, and he's going to stop lower. That's good, but as you can see, he goes through the ground a little bit. Like, you can't really see him that well. And in the Megaman games, I'll bring up a quick picture of Megaman. Megaman 8, that has pretty good graphics. Megaman doesn't look like he's shooting lemons constantly. See, he's standing over the ground, so the ground is kind of like behind him, and he's standing on the ground. So, back to this. Why is King not showing up in the ground? Well, that's because up here in my code, king is drawn first, and then the ground is drawn. So, like, it's as if as I draw a really pretty smiley face right here, and then I go over here. That doesn't look pretty. That also doesn't look pretty. How are we going to fill? Yeah, and we draw a gorgeous smiley face right here, and then we draw the ground right here. We don't want to draw the ground there. We want to draw the ground first, and then the smiley face over the ground, like that. That's what we want it to be like. So it's quite a simple fix. You just move the ground over here. Whatever happens up here is what happens first, and then what happens here is what happens second. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, blah, blah, blah. And if we push play, you can see he goes just kind of good. Alright. So we got the falling, the right and left moving. And there we go. And I'll also arrange the falling off the cliff sometime soon. Okie dokie. The next thing we're going to do is jumping. Now, jumping is also really simple. See right, left. Now we're going to have if key code equals up. Then y speed equals negative 10. Negative goes up again. But see down here it says y speed equals 10. So we want the jump to affect to happen whether or not he's touching the ground or not. Well, for now. Because if he's in the air and we jump, well, if he's touching the ground and then we jump, right here, it'll immediately take him back down to the ground. I'll show you what happens. This isn't going to work. See, it immediately takes him back down to the ground. Oh, if key pressed. I forgot the if key pressed. It immediately takes him back down to the ground. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this and bring it all the way to the top. There we go. Now it looks wonderful. Now if we press the up, he will jump up because it sets y speed to 10, which will make him fall, but over here it sets it to negative 10, which will make him go up, and then over here it finally applies whatever it was. Whether it was 10, whether it was negative 10, and then it finally applies it. And since this was the last thing to do, it will make him go up. So if we make this go down here, it will make him go down. If we do this up, I'm not sure how to describe this, but I think you get it. But now we want to have a limit to the jump. We want the jump to only go up, say, 5 times. We want this to repeat 5 times. But we can't have a repeat or else it will go up super duper fast. We want to do 5 times per frame. Up here we're going to type another variable. We're going to type in a lot of variables. Int jump limit equals 0. And now, every time this does something, we want jump limit equals jump limit plus 1. Alright, now jump limit will increase by 1 every time this is run, but we won't really do anything because we haven't decided if jump limit is lower than 5, then do this. And so that's what we're going to do. If jump limit lower than 5, do that. And you can also name these variables whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. Just as long as you don't put spaces in the name. Okay. If it's lower than 5, then it will do that. Now if we jump, he jumps, but now jump limit is 5, and now it's not going back down to 0 anymore. So we gotta have something if not key code equals up, or if not key pressed, if not key code equals up. I think not key code equals up would be a lot better choice. If, not key code. I misspelled this by a long shot. And there you go. Now, if you're not pressing up, jump limit will go back to 0. So king touches the ground, he goes up, and they go back to 0. And if not key pressed, we also want jump. Zero. And now that we did that, he jumps a little bit and goes back to 0. But the problem is, if you press it really fast, he can kind of fly again. So as soon as you let go of the jump button, jump limit is 0. We want it to be 0 when he's touching the ground. We don't want it to be 0 in the air. And we also want him to jump a little higher. So let's do less than 20. Make it a little bit fair. I'm just going to test this 20 thing. Yeah. So the 20 is a little bit more fair now. We only want the jump limit to be 0 after he's touching the ground. So over here, remember when we did y speed equals 10 if y is less than the ground, then y speed equals 0. Well, we pretty much just gotta move this in there because we already got the right code written. We just didn't put enough stuff in there. So if y is lower than the ground, then y speed equals 0 and jump limit equals 0 if not up pressed. Up. And this is somehow not working stuff. Oh yeah, that's because I did this. If not key pressed, then jump limit also equals 0. We gotta have this as well up there. So copy. So if not key pressed and y is touching the ground, or y is lower than the ground, then jump limit equals 0. And if we test it out, he does not jump all the way. He only jumps halfway. But we encountered 2 other problems. When you press the jump button, if you let go halfway, he will jump in midair, kind of. So we needed to have if not touching the ground and not key up pressed, then jump limit equals the max, and it won't go up any further. So if higher than the ground and not jump pressed, then we want to just stop jumping completely. This up here, where if not key pressed, if y is greater than, where would be the best place to put this? If y is greater than the ground. if y is greater than the ground, and if not key pressed, then jump limit equals 5. As soon as I click the program, it failed me completely. Okay, if not, if y is greater, it's less. This line right here will tell you whether a program is being run or not. It just runs whatever you want to run. It's for mainly for debugging. Jump. Oh, wait a minute. I remember. If... No, I don't remember. Oh, that's because down here I increased it to 20. So it is 5, but we gotta increase it to 20. And now it stops. I had to look for this 20 over here. Everything usually has to match in your code. And I wish I could learn that someday. Okay, now we got him to jump and to walk, but it doesn't look like he's walking right now because it doesn't really look like he's walking. But we will get him to walk pretty soon. To look like he's walking sometime soon. We gotta take care of all the basics first, and then we'll get him to walk. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is he doesn't really jump quite natural. When a person jumps, or when anything jumps in a video game, it slowly goes up, and then it just and then eventually it stops and slowly starts going back down and builds up speed as it's going down. So what we're going to do up here is type, wait a minute, we can use this jump limit, and based on, we're going to use something similar to the jump limit, and decrease it by 1 every frame, and then it will move up by less 1 every frame. Like it would move up by 20, by 19, by 18, by 17, by 16, by 14, and then it would slowly start slowing down. So plus 20, plus 19, plus 18. Let's just do... jump. And over here, instead of putting -10, we're going to put jump. Jump equals jump minus 1. And so y speed will equal negative jump, and jump equals 10, and then jump equals 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then jump will actually just do our job for us, because... See, he started jumping up a little bit, but not quite enough. So instead of 0, we're going to make it 10. And I forgot to click. See, you could see him jump there a little bit. A little bit more natural, except he's not jumping quite enough, and he's also going through the ground. So that's cool. That's really cool because you can easily change it by just changing the number. It's quite simple. And now he jumped up way too much. understand. And also, but the problem is if you press the button again, he'll start going through the ground. And that's a pretty easy fix. Up here, we're going to just need to reset jump back to 20. So now where are we going to put the jump? Jump limit equals 20. We have to do if touching the ground, then jump equals 20. So where is touching the ground? If y is less than, that means above the ground. If y is greater than the ground. Let's add a little comment here that says if king is touching the ground. And there you go. He looks almost as if he's jumping, except the falling is a little bit off. So we need that y speed equals 10. We need this to be changed to if not key pressed. Because jump, because it goes minus 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, it will keep going down all the way to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and it'll keep going down, -1, -2, so it will do our job for us, and it would slowly do something that I wish it would do. Less than 40. Up here we also need to do 40, and we need to do jump limit 40. It will do our job for us, and you can now he's looking more as if he's jumping. Now he looks like he's jumping like he should be jumping. But he's not jumping very fast. And let's make him jump a little bit faster. Let's make it. Alright, now to increase the jump speed, the first thing we're going to need to do is make him go all the way up and then go all the way back down. We want the jump to go from 20, where it is right now, where jump is 20, we want it to go down to 0 very quickly. So instead of jump equals jump minus 1, how about jump equals jump minus 2? And if you notice, he is jumping quicker, but he's also jumping lower as well. So we're going, in order to fix that, we need to change the jump limit as well. Jump limit and the jump itself, because he's only going up by 20, up by 18, up by 16, and so we're not going up as many pixels. The other one was 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, and 20 plus 18 plus 16 plus 14 is actually lower. So we're going to need to increase jump and the jump limit as well. So jump equals 30. Jump equals 30. Jump limit of 40. How about we just increase that to 50, and if it's not enough, we'll change it later. Now when we run the program, he's jumping higher and a little bit quickly too. He's jumping quick too. Because every frame it's plus 20, plus 18, plus 16, so it gets down to 0 pretty quickly here. And he also jumps pretty much the same. Alright, I guess that's it for this part of the game. In this thing I talked about how to make the character walk and jump. We didn't get the animation yet, but that's it for today. Until next time, this is Phoenix Storm Jr. signing out. I'll see you next time.